The man needs no introduction. We're bringing him in on the phone line. Grapes, I've only been waiting 30 years to do this interview, so after today I can die happy. Donald S. Cherry, how are you doing today?
Hi, Rod. Hi, Darren. How you doing? Well, I'm doing pretty good, thanks. How are you doing?
Hey, we're doing great. They're back to playing hockey, and we're in round 3, Grapes, and I think everybody wants to know, because they haven't heard from you long enough for so long, what have you thought of the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Well, I think the hockey's been terrific. I think the guys have been doing a great job. I was a little worried at the start. I mean, they're talking about bubbles and stuff like that, but I think the guys have been playing great. I think they've done a great job. They got the crowd going in there and everything. So I like the hockey. I think there's been 17 fights, so I gotta like it for sure.
Well, I'm kind of with you. I didn't know what to expect, but now I don't really notice a difference. But I'll ask you this: it was kind of our theme last week. Would you say the hockey's been as good, worse, or better? I think it's been at least as good as normal playoffs.
I think it's better. And I'll tell you why, is that the guys don't have to travel. For instance, when I was coaching the Bruins, we played in Boston, then we had to fly to Los Angeles, and then we had to back to Boston, and then we had to fly to Los Angeles. I mean, we were dead from flying. And these guys, they just walk, they got T-shirts on, they play the game. So I think that's why the hockey's been great. The goalies have been fantastic, and all the injuries are all better. So I think the hockey's been I had a little worried at the start. I thought, the bubble, like I said, and so I was a little worried. But I'll tell you, I think the hockey's been great, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I've loved it. I've watched almost every game. I can't get enough of it. But, Don, you just brought up 2 things I wanted to ask you. The Bruins are out, and their goalie, Tuukka Rask, opted out. So I got to ask you your thoughts on your beloved Bruins, that they're not still alive in these playoffs, and how you felt about Tuukka Rask going home and leaving the bubble.
Well, I think they got shafted. They were the 63 games they played. They were first spot. I think they should have had all the advantages. They played 63 games. They ended up 4th. I think that silly thing they had at the start. But, no, Rask, I thought Havlat played good, but I think Rask at his best, they would have won. His heart wasn't in it. You could see the first game. His heart wasn't in the game. And I've never heard of anybody ever bailing out in the playoffs, so that was tough to take. But I guess if you're not playing and you don't feel like playing, Havlat almost did it. He's a good little goalie, but he wasn't Rask at his best.
Well, he certainly wasn't the reason they lost the series, there's no doubt. And actually, on that goalie vein, what about the Golden Knights? Game 2 tonight against Dallas. We have no idea who the Knights are going to start in goal. It hasn't been announced. How do you feel about how Peter DeBoer's handled his goalies, A? And B, when you were a coach, Grapes, did you you had Cheevers, so it wasn't too hard, but did you lean on anybody for goalie help with that, on who to start, because you never played goal?
No, I never talked to them like that. I know Cheevers was good, but I put Gilly Gilbert in, and we almost won it. We beat the champions, but I knew he was a French Canadian. I knew he was going up for a contract. I knew we were playing in Montreal, so you have to be careful. I can't believe his agent did that thing with Fleury. I didn't know if DeBoer would put Fleury back in or not. I mean, if people remember, it was a picture of Fleury on the ice, and a big sword right through him, and had DeBoer on the back, printed on the sword. So I don't know. It's a tough deal. But I'll tell you one thing, Las Vegas didn't show up for that first game. It shows you about Ryan Reeves. They didn't have that swagger or something, but they weren't in that game. Las Vegas wasn't in that game at Dallas. They seem to be on a mission or something. And Jamie Benn's got them going. I just think it's just great. I mean, I cheer for Las Vegas. I hope they beat in the finals. But Jamie Benn, I think, is the leader on that Dallas Cub.
Well, I tell you what, you bring up a good point about Reeves. Like, I love the family. His brother plays here for the Rough Riders. We had their dad on last week, Willard Reeves. But I'm watching Game 1, and by the way, I'm a Golden Knights fan too, Grapes, thinking, I don't know if Ryan Reeves could keep up in this game. I'm sorry to say that. Dallas is just so fast. I don't know how big of an impact he would have had. Or are you thinking that if he rattled enough bodies, that would have been the impact?
I think that DeBoer said it. He's in the dressing room. He gives you that. He gives you something. You're cocky. They walk along. They play a lot different when he's in. He got suspended for that hit. I didn't think he should have got suspended. But anyhow, Ryan Reeves, they'll be different tonight. And, boy, it was something to watch the New York Islanders last night. They just rolled over. But they had, they got hammered last night 8-2. I think they had the 7th game hangover. They were still played in that thing. But I have to say, a guy, Saskatchewan guy there, Jordan Eberle, 5 shots, 5 hits from Regina. If they all played like him, they would have been a lot different, I'll tell you that. But I think Tampa's on a roll. The Braden Point was 5 points. I mean, they didn't even defend themselves last night. But I think it was more of New York Islanders. The 7th game killed them.
Well, we got some great WHL alumni in that series. Braden Point of the Moose Jaw Warriors, as you say, Ebbs from the Pats, and Barry Trotz. I got to ask you, what's the difference with the Islanders? There's a former Pats captain, Barry Trotz. What a difference he's made with the New York Islanders.
Well, he's earning us $6 million. I mean, that is unbelievable. I'm glad he's got his money. And Lou Lamoriello and Trotz is a great combo. And if you look at Lamoriello, the first 2 guys he went to get off the Leafs was Martin and Korvalov, and 2 guys that and they just gave them away. And they play on the 4th line. I mean, that's got to be the best. I don't call it the 4th line; I call it the 3rd line. I mean, him and Clutterbutt, they always lead the league at hits. But Martin and Lamoriello and Barry Trotz, it's a great combo. I'll tell you that. But I think they'll show. They got to be a lot better than they were last night. They just rolled over last night.
8-2. Yeah, well, I got to ask you, and we got a Leafs fan here in Darren Dupont. I'll turn it over to him in a second. But, Grapes, what does it say about the Leafs that Kadri went so deep with Colorado and looked so great? You mentioned Lamoriello acquiring Komarov and Matt Martin, and the Leafs aren't playing. Like, your thoughts on the direction of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Well, they have to be tougher. I mean, they don't have anybody. I mean, why they would let Martin go is beyond me. I mean, when Martin was on their club, I know they didn't go any farther either, but you always had your head up, and they could put him on. I mean, he'd be an answer for Reeves, that's for sure. He's just as big and just as tough, but they have to be tougher. Their forwards are fantastic. They got a lot of money wrapped up in 4 guys, but they have to be tougher. They have to be. I like Anderson. I know they're talking about getting rid of him, but I would rather have Anderson. I think he's one of the best goaltenders in the league. But they have to have a guy like Weber or Hegman. I mean, it's easy to say to get, but they have to have a better defense. Their defense is one of the worst in the league. They are a soft club. They're great for the regular league, but in the playoffs, you have to be a warrior.
How do you find that, Don? It's Darren here, because it just seems like that it factor, right? That ability to ratchet it up in the playoffs isn't there for some of those top end guys. And you see the guys like, in Vegas, or you see Dallas, guys who have been there before, Pavelski and Jamie Benn and Corey Perry, guys who know how to win. They don't have that in Toronto. How do they find that?
Well, I don't know. I would, first of all, the big thing and it's easy for me to say they don't have any money in the cap, and there's no money there. But I would try to find a guy like Weber. I mean, he's but I don't know where you find them. And defense is the hardest guy to get in the league. I mean, you can get forwards, and you watch when the free agency comes up. There'll be a lot of forwards, but there won't be any top defensemen because they are tough to get. And I don't know where he's going to get them either. Nobody knows where they're going to get. Where are you going to get a guy like Eggman or Weber, or a guy like that? And that's the kind of guy they need to lead the defense. And tough, and keep your head up. When they go in the Toronto end, they have no fear. Nobody has any fear whatsoever. You got to have a little fear. I mean, you got to be thinking about a little bit what's going on in your end when you pick up the puck. Is the guy coming to hit me? But nobody hits anybody. They don't believe in fighting. I think they had 3. Not that I'm saying fighting, but it shows you the spirit. And the playoffs have been good. And I think the top 2 teams last year who won it last year were 1-2 in the fighting. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, there he is, the fighting." But it shows you, boy, Tom Wilson with Washington last year, and the Bruins led the league in fights last year, and they were in the finals. So all I'm saying is Ryan Reeves he'll be back, and you watch, he'll be on the prowl. He doesn't get stupid penalties, and I'm looking forward to the game when they play. I'll tell you that. I can't believe that Dallas beat them. I still think Las Vegas will come back.
Just one game. That's how I'm approaching it as a Golden Knights fan. Grapes, just a little off topic in the few minutes we have left. Your podcast, you sound, frankly, because I've been listening to you since you started with Dave Hodge, like the old Grapes. You got more time. You sound like you're having more fun. Can you talk about your podcast and how much you've enjoyed it?
Oh, I have a lot of fun. My son, and I, and Cindy, my daughter, and he's a magician behind all that stuff. He makes it sound good, and we just sit back at the kitchen table, and we have fun, and then we have lunch after. So we have a good time, and I didn't quite understand it. My son is the guy, Timothy, is the guy that's behind it all, that pushes it all, the whole deal. So I just drop over and have fun, and like I'm having fun right now.
Well, I love it. Following your Twitter, you got close to 1 million followers. You got to tell me how, when you just drop out these observations on Twitter, is Tim writing that for you, or are you writing it yourself? Because then people just go nuts with what you say. It's a lot of fun to watch hockey following your Twitter account. How does that work behind the sscenes?
Well, I usually tell him what to say, and he puts it in, and he kind of gets it. I remember one time they were when Trump was down, all the left wingers, and it was down in Florida, and my wife was down in Florida, and she read it in the paper down there. I said, all the left wingers said, if Trump wins the presidency, they're coming back to Canada. And I said, look, I said in the Twitter, I said, we got enough left wingers kooks up here. Stay down there. So I have a lot of fun at the Twitter, and I know a lot of people. I think the last I looked, it's close to 850,000 or something like that. So anyhow, I have a lot of fun. And I miss Hockey Night in Canada. I do, and they're going out to Edmonton. I think I do miss it. But hey, 40 years is long enough. Let somebody else do it.
Well, it's obviously it's not the same, and I was going to let you bring that up. I didn't want to bring it up, but that's why we wanted to get you on here, because not just Canadians miss you, all our hockey people miss you. And by the way, Eddie Lack, he's watching in Arizona right now, Don, and he said he loves you, like all the players do. He said, "Can you please ask Grapes to say Kevin Bieksa?" That's from Eddie Lack.
I don't know. Everybody tells me Kevin Bieksa doing a pretty good job on Hockey Night in Canada. I guess he's supposed to be taking my spot, I guess. But I always liked him. I always thought I kind of played like him, like Kevin Bieksa. And I don't know. I think I say it right. I guess I don't say it right. But anyhow, no. He's doing a pretty good job. And he's a pretty good guy, and he was a good defenseman. Boy, I still thought he could play. I thought he could still play this year. He looks in pretty good shape.
Oh, he does. He represents the role of the hockey player there, I guess. And speaking of that, this is what I wanted to ask you with the last question. I wanted to know how you felt when hockey culture was taking such a beating here through the winter. And you would talk about the left wingers. That's where a lot of it was coming from. And I worked in the Western Hockey League for 17 years, grew up in the game. My dad worked in the NHL for 26 years. I was hurt. And a lot of people said to me, and you were gone off Hockey Night in Canada by then, they said, Don Cherry's the guy responsible for kids wearing suits to the rink and being respectful and doing the right thing. And now Graves isn't even here to speak for it anymore. How did you feel when hockey culture was being dragged through the mud this winter? Because I'm not sure we're out of it.
We got time to talk about it, sorry?
Five minutes. Let her roll.
Oh, all right. So anyhow, I was watching Ottawa, and I watched Ottawa come in. Ottawa was in the dressing room. And Tampa, when they were last place or something like that, one of the bad teams in Florida, and they wore turtlenecks. And I said something about, I said, look at these guys. And one of the guys came out of the Ottawa dressing room, and I said, look at these guys. They look like thugs. So and I said, no, watch your Stanley Cup champion come in, and Crosby come in. He looked like $1 million. And I said, that's the difference. So I got in a lot of trouble with Hockey Night in Canada, and the Ottawa, they were mad at me and everything like that. And they said that they were going to take me to court. And I said, I didn't say they were thugs. I said they look like thugs. And that started the whole thing. And we see the guys coming in now. They're all shirts and ties. And the little kids, I have to laugh at one father guy said, I'm mad at you that you're talking about, he said, about suits coming in. He said, my son, he said he's got a suit on. He said he won't carry his bag now. He doesn't want to wrinkle his suit. So, I think it's just great. I just love the way we're the only sport in the world where the kids at 9:30 at night in a game wear a shirt and tie, and I hope we keep it up. I don't know if we'll keep it up now that I'm gone, but I just love it when hockey players come in dressed up and look sharp.
Yeah, well, that's in all of the culture of it. I'm just saying you get a lot of credit for that, and well deserved. I mean, you shaped hockey culture. You shaped a lot of me too. I got in a lot of trouble for using the term thug, to be honest with you, on this show a year ago. I won't go down that line, but I just think your impact on the game, I don't think people understand how big it is, Grapes. And I guess before we let you go, is there anything that you'd like to say here today to Canadians and our viewers across North America?
No, I just enjoyed it. I'm glad people still like me. I hope they remember. I said when I get off a couple of years, they'll say that people. I'm afraid if people come up to me and say, "Didn't you used to be Don Cherry?" But I don't. I have a lot of fun at it, and I want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast and listening to the tweeter. I have a lot of fun, and thank you, Rod, and thank you, Darren, for having me on, and good luck in the future. And Jordan Eberle, one of my favorite players, so from Regina, Saskatchewan. And I have to mention Bobby Schmott. I know I can't go a thing without mentioning Bobby Schmott. He was my favorite player in Boston, and he's having a little tough time now. I think he's in Portland now with his brother. But Bobby Schmott was from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. One of my favorite guys, Bobby Schmott.
Yeah, and he called his stick the old equalizer. I read the book, Grapes. Actually, I read all the books and watched all the videos and had the tie and went to your restaurant. So, big fan here. And like I said, I've never had the chance to interview you before, but I do a lot of events. And Daryl Sutter, your buddy Tiger Williams, all those guys say, Grapes is the best guy. He got railroaded. We miss him. We love him. But you know all that, Grapes. So just wanted to reiterate, you know what it is, but it doesn't hurt to hear it, right?
Well, I tell you, I'm getting chills here, and you kind of forgotten. You think the players in that forgot you. I remember the Sutter brothers. Back in those days, they were the best. And I want to thank all you people, and thank you very much, Rod and Darren, for having me on. It's great. I've had a lot of fun.
You'll never be forgotten. Grapes, thank you. Enjoy the playoffs.
Okay, Rod. See you later. See you, Darren. Toodaloo.
The great Don Cherry joining us on the phone from Southern Ontario. So we'll break and come back and talk about all of that. He thought he'd be forgotten.
Can you believe that?
That's just wrong. What is Hockey Night in Canada doing for Don Cherry, I'd like to know, to remember him? He's not dead! We'll be right back. It's the RP Show, Facebook Live, Game Plus TV Network, and listen live at rodpeterson.com.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpeterson.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.